Okay, so today we're going to be talking to my sweet sister-in-law, and I'm so honored that you have taken the time to come and talk to me.
Thank you for having me on.
A little bit. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, 100%.
And, you know, we both have kiddos,
Mm-hmm.
and what's cool is, you know, I have my 3 that I've actually given birth to, my 10-year-old, my 4-year-old, and now my 1-year-old. And you have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old about to be 3,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And you have 2 boys. I had 2 girls with now a boy. And so now I'm like the boy mom life. It's definitely different than having girls. But, you know, and the cool thing about our, with Wyatt and Addie is they're 4 days?
4 days apart.
4 days apart.
Yeah.
Wyatt was born first, and then Addie was born 4 days later.
They're
so
like
we kind of
twins.
we're feeling all the same things. The heat of the summer and all of that. It was
Hard pregnancy.
Yeah, hard
In
pregnancies.
summer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So for that, so Wyatt was your first. Addie was my second. How was your pregnancy and that whole experience? You know, like how did you manage?
It was really hard. I mean, just the pregnancy and summer was really difficult.
Yeah.
But it was also my first. And so I had a lot of anxiety throughout that whole pregnancy because I didn't know what to expect.
That's hard.
One of my biggest things, and I don't know why this is what I worried about, is that you hear moms talking about how they recognize certain cries. And it's like, oh, he's hungry. Oh, he's this. Or, oh, he's sad. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to recognize that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to be able to all cries sound the same to me, you know, before I had kids. So that was one of the things that I really stressed about.
Yeah.
And then another one is like, you know, babies sleep a lot and all that kind of thing. And I was like, how am I going to be able to tell the difference, like if he's sick or not? You know, what if he's crying because he's sick, or what if he's crying just because he's, you know, he's crying, he's tired, whatever.
Yeah.
So I really worried about, like, would I be able to recognize his cues when he's sick, when he's that? And then, of course, I worried about SIDS and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I worried about that a lot. And so it's like I really stressed and had a lot of anxiety throughout my pregnancy. And I look back at that now, like after I had him, and it's like, why was I stressing so much? But I think it's a common new mom thing, especially when you're pregnant, you know, and like you have all of those hormones and everything like that. And it's like, I just want to be a good mom.
Right. That's all I wanted to be in life, was a good mom. Like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can remember that too, and being like, oh my gosh, am I good? You know, how is this going to work? And then, you know, being in business, like, how's that going to work? And, you know, just, I feel like the sleep, like the first few months, and with Emma, she had reflux, and so she was crying constantly, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what do I do? So we've, you know, gripe water is a good thing.
Yes.
What was that? Well, the other one,
The am I thinking of the right thing?
it starts with an M. I don't know. I can't remember, but it is
I think I know what you're talking about.
It's a drop.
Though.
It's like a little drop thing.
Yeah.
I'll have to find it. I will find that, because it was a godsend to help with that. But going back to like just all of the unknowns, and then just truly like I had to, and I got great advice. You know, you're a mom. You have instincts.
Yes.
Like even like in the animal kingdom, they all have instincts, you know, so, you know, like, okay. And then a lot of it's like trial and error, you know, like if, you feed them and they're still crying, then you burp them. And a lot of my experience was gas, you know, for my little ones, in the first few months. And so then we breastfed. So it was like trying to figure out what was the cause, and a lot of time it wasn't even that. It was just that their little systems aren't quite developed enough to push that stuff through, you know.
Right.
And so really taking the pressure off was like, okay, taking that expectation and be like, yeah, it's down here and we're just surviving.
Another thing that I wish I would have done is that I felt like I couldn't ask for help.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's because, like, I'm his mom. God gave him to me. So I'm supposed to be able to handle this. I'm supposed to be able to take care of everything. I shouldn't need to ask for help. I should be able to do all of that. And it really wasn't until he was like 4 or 5 months old that I was like, I need some help. I need a break. I can't balance cooking and cleaning and, you know, because I was primarily the one who took care of him, like, in the middle of the night if he woke up. Because Caleb was working, so he had to go to work.
Yeah.
And so I wish I would have asked for help sooner. I felt like it's my responsibility. God gave him to me. I'm his mom. I shouldn't need to ask for help. Like, it's all on me.
Yeah. Oh,
and
man.
asking for help is so important. It's so good for mental health. It's good just to get a break. I feel like it makes you a better mom because now you have the patience and everything like that. But that is one thing I wish I would have done sooner, is ask for help. And now with my second, I'm like, who wants him?
Anybody. We're taking anybody. No, I know that it's so important because, like, and I feel like your tribe is so important. If you can trust your people around you, like, and it does take a village, you know, and not even just to raise a child, but to make sure that you are okay.
Right.
You know, and having those people in your life that'll be like, hey, like, I had a friend of mine with Emma. I was, again, trying to do all the things, and it was a lot on me.
Yeah.
The expectation of, you know, I have to cook, I have to clean, I have to go to the grocery store, I have to, you know, deal with the brides and deal with all of this. And a lot of that was, it was on me to do that. And I had a lot of responsibilities. So feeling like I was divided, man, it was just so rough. The pressure was on. And then in my heart of hearts, my only goal was just to be a great mom and a great wife. You know, that's really what I strive for. That was what I wanted, my heart's desire, you know?
Yeah.
And I had a friend of mine, her name's Jess, and she's wonderful. And we would get together and, you know, here and there, and she'd bring her daughter over and stuff because her daughter's a little bit older than Emma. And she just said, she brought me dinner one time.
That's
and
sweet.
that was helpful. Anybody, like, if you have a new mom in your life, take care of dinners. And if you can, you know, take care of a dinner or two and give them a freezer meal. And the best thing to do is to not have, you know, your Tupperware or whatever, make it all disposable. Like, please make it all disposable.
Yes, because then you have to think about washing it and giving it back and, like, when is the next time I'm going to see this person? Yes.
Like, take the mental load off of that mom for just a little bit. And even if it, like, you pack little snacks or whatever for if there's other kids involved, like, just take care of that for just a little bit, you know, and that way they can, instead of having to do the dishes and having to think about cooking and all of that, like, she can maybe sleep, you know, or she can maybe do the laundry. But this friend of mine, she came in and she's like, you know what, how about you go take a nap? And I was like, a nap?
What is a nap?
She's like, go take a nap. I've got the baby. It'll be okay. You know, just take a couple hours. And I was like, okay. So then when I woke up, she's like, okay, well, you know, everything's good. She's like, we're going to go. The baby's here, whatever. She just, like, kind of left the baby with me. And when I went out to the living room, there was dinner. Everything was clean. She had washed all my dishes. She did my laundry. Everything was just done.
That is so
And I was like, I love you forever. Like, we, after that, became best friends. Like, she won my heart.
That is so sweet.
So if you can have friends and family that just step in and they're like, okay, I'm going to take this load. Mom is so good about that.
Yes.
Like, she'll come in and she'll just like, I'm going to start doing dishes, you know, or whatever. And I'm like, you don't really have to do my dishes. Yeah. It's okay. Like, I feel bad, but she's like, I'm a mama. I'm going to take care of my kids and I'm going to take care of your kids. And, you know, and I'm like, okay, that's what I feel like friendships need. Like, we need to step in for each other.
Right.
And even if it's, you know, cleaning the garage one day or whatever we got to do to help each other. That's what we should do, you know. I feel like that's really needed, because we've had this whole idea as women and equal rights and all of those things, which I'm all for. You know, I feel like we should all be treated equally as humans.
Right.
But at the same time, like, you don't have to be super mom. Like, I mean, I feel like we put that pressure on ourselves, and we just cannot ask for help.
Right.
You know, especially being someone who is constantly like working and trying to achieve and whatever. Like, me personally, I have a real problem asking for help. And I just know that like my health takes a downturn, and like mental health takes a downturn. Right. Like, you're just like, I can't keep up with it. And then you feel like you're not achieving what you should be achieving, and all, like, that's all bull.
Yeah.
It's bull. You know, and the way that I can stay centered and stay myself and like achieve the things that I need to achieve is that I have to take a look at myself and say, can't do it all. What can you delegate?
Right.
What can you know, have somebody else do, or just give yourself a minute to take a bath or wash your hair or whatever it is to fill your own self before, because you can't pour from an empty cup. And I know that's kind of cliche, but that is the truth.
It's true.
It's the truth. And if you're denying yourself constantly, then you're not going to be a quality person or a person that you would want around your kids.
Right.
You know? And that's like your responsibility.
That is something that I've looked at a lot. Like, I've looked at you and I've looked at your mom, and I'm like, God, they're like super women.
Nope.
Like, and I do. I honestly do. Like, you run a business and you have kids, and you know, your husband is out of town, and so you're like the primary caregiver. And I'm like, I could never. Oh, I could never do that.
You could, if you had to. You know,
I had to, yeah.
You'd figure it out.
There's definitely this thing of like, you see moms and they're like, oh man, and you compare yourself. It's like, I could never do that. I could never do this. And so that is something that I've struggled with a lot, is like looking at other women and then looking at me, and it's like, I have help here, I have help here, I have help here, you know, and it kind of makes you feel less than, or like you're not as good of a mom as you see on social media or whatever, which we all know is fake, but it's hard not to compare yourself.
Social media, I feel like there's a lot of things you can learn from each other, but just having that picture of perfection, that is not real. Life is messy. If you walked into my house right now, you'll see dishes in the sink. You'll see, you know, toys out. And somebody once told me, they're like, you know what, one day you're going to miss this. And I'm like, I don't know about that.
I currently right now have Play-Doh all over my floor.
Exactly. So. You know, there's stuff on the floor that, like, food, and I mean, Elijah right now, he is in this like whole thing, like he'll take a bite and he'll drop a bite, like he'll take a bite and drop a bite. I'm like, are you saving it for later? Like, I feed you, you know, you don't have to save your snacks for later on the floor, you know. But it's just life, and it's messy, and it's beautiful, and it's chaotic, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna take my expectation, and I'm not going to put expectations on myself anymore. We're all alive. We're all healthy. We're all fed. You know, there's a roof over our heads right now. The lights are on. The AC's on. You know, like, that's all of our needs are met. Thank God. And I know it's a struggle for the men too, because they have the pressure and the mantle of being the head of the household. The provider, the protector, you know, and my job as a wife is to make sure my man's okay. Too, you know, make sure that number one, we're focused on God. Number two, that we're giving each other 100%. And I feel like especially this day and age with the economy, how it is, with, you know, my husband's in the oil field, with work, how it is, like, man, it is pressurized. Yes. Everything is pressurized right now. Yes. And having you know, our life to where I feel like the kids need 100%. I can't give myself, I have to take that time for myself, you know, and for me to fill up so I can give out. Because if I'm not, then I'm not the wife that he deserves, and I'm not the mom that my kids deserve, and even to the point sometimes where I'm like, okay, guys, you can definitely watch a movie for 30 minutes or whatever it is. I'm going to go shut my door for a second, and I'm going to meet with Jesus. Yeah. Because we need to pray over this situation or whatever it is, and I feel like, being a mom, but also being, someone who follows Jesus and has the Holy Spirit is a huge deal, as the comforter, as, the guide, as somebody who speaks to you and is like, you know what, maybe don't say that.
Right.
Don't get off in your emotions, maybe dial it back a little bit, and listening to the whisper of the Holy Spirit is a huge deal on how we navigate life, and how we prioritize life,
Yeah.
Because, man, if I didn't have that, I think it would be much worse.
Yeah.
As far as me not feeling like how my whole makeup is set up, is I need to strive. I need to get more. I'm never satisfied with, that. And I feel like God's like, you know what? Hey, time out. This is where your priorities need to be. This is, I've created you to be this, and all of that. So
yeah,
there's rest in that.
That is one thing that I try to do when you're talking about like lights are paid for, this is paid for, we have food, we have whatever. That's kind of like right before I go to bed. And I read something, I don't know where I heard it, but like it really plays in my mind now. It's like when I lay my head down to go to sleep and if I'm having a hard time going to sleep or whatever, I read somewhere like that's God calling on you to pray to him.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
And so like that's what I do, and I try to do it nightly now, like just, and a lot of times I'll fall asleep praying, is that if I feel like I've had a bad day, or sometimes I'm just thankful, but if I feel like I've had a bad day or whatever, I'll be like, okay, so what are my blessings, know? And it's like, today, we do have food, we did have water, our lights are turned on, we, I was able to do laundry, I was able to do dishes, I was able to do that, and so that's what I really try to do. And another thing that I read too is like, if you didn't pray for everything you were thankful for, how much would you still have? And so I'm like, that is another thing too. Like, I didn't say I was thankful for this. I didn't say I was thankful for that. I didn't say I was thankful for this, and it makes me realize like, I am so blessed.
Yes.
I am so thankful. Today may have been a hard day, but I'm lucky enough that I was able to have a hard day today.
Yeah. Yes, that's so good. I mean, and I do the same thing. Like whenever I start to feel like,
yeah.
like, man, or something's wrong with the house or the kitchen sink or, it's like, you know what? I'm thankful that I get to wash these dishes. I'm thankful for this house. I'm thankful that I get to do laundry, or, I'm thankful that I have these moments with the kids.
Yeah.
That I can sit back and we can play or do a puzzle or, I'm thankful for that. And it changes the attitude around it. Your gratitude changes your attitude.
Yes.
And that's how a lot of these moments that are like, ooh, it's a little hairy. Oh gosh, move this way, move that way. Like, I'm thankful because it changes the outlook. It changes the trajectory of how my day was going.
Yes.
It changes the words that come out of my mouth. Because sometimes they ain't pretty, or the thought is not pretty, but it's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to capture this and I'm going to be thankful for it. And I'm thankful for this moment, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to change how the things are going to going, how things were going. So, you're totally right with that. Like thankfulness over those little small things. They snowball into bigger things, and once you're thankful for those things, it takes the power away from the resentment.
Right.
Right. So that's one thing that you're totally right about that, for sure. So being a mom of boys.
Yes.
Girl. How like, any advice, any like, okay, how do you take it on the daily? Because they're into everything. Into it.
Yeah. Advice? I'm not sure.
I don't know. We're breathing. This is a good thing.
I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get into everything. They fight with each other. I guess one thing that I do love about having boys is their bond, and knowing that they're going to take care of each other when they get older. I have 2 younger brothers, and they stand up for each other. They have each other's backs. They're
cool.
Like 20 and 23 or something like that, I think. And they take care of each other. And so that is one thing that I look at my boys and I'm like, they're going to have each other's back. They'll take care of each other. They're 2 years apart. So like, you know, when they're in high school or whatever, you know, like not letting each other get bullied or anything like that. So I do love like the brotherly bond, you know, like when Wyatt, my older one, puts his arm around Liam, or like when Liam's getting in trouble and Wyatt will go and stand up for him, like, you don't talk to my brother that way.
And you're like, actually, yes.
I know. It's like, Wyatt, you're being a good brother for taking care of him, but right now he did something wrong and he's getting in trouble for that, you know. But they are into everything. They're rambunctious, you know, but they love their mom.
Oh, yeah.
They love their mom. Their mom is boys. Wyatt right now, I think, is leaning a little bit more towards being a daddy's boy, which I really like.
Yeah.
But Liam is the younger one, mama's boy. And so I do love how much boys, you know, love their mom, want to protect their mom, you know. Like if Caleb and I are fighting, which we don't really fight a lot in front of the kids, but if we are, Wyatt will come up and be like, you don't talk to my mom that way.
And Caleb's probably like, did you hear what she said to me?
Exactly. So, yeah, but I love my boys, you know, and I want a third, maybe a fourth, but I definitely do want a third. And I go back and forth. I was like, do I want a girl or do I want another boy? I'm not sure, you know.
It does change things. I feel like with the girls, I had 2 girls first, and I was like, honestly, I love kids. It doesn't matter their gender or whatever, you know, like, but I really wanted another girl. And I was like, because I already have the stuff. And of course, me trying to be like logical, whatever. I was like, I already have the things, you know, and I just really want another girl. But then we got a boy, and I was like, what do I do? Like, 'cause I've got this girl mom thing down pat, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And now, wow, like boys are like crazy. They're into everything or whatever. And my little one, he's got a sweet spirit, but he is into everything, you know? And, but just seeing the difference in like their personalities from like the first one to the second one. How about, like, I know they're boys, but do you see a big difference in your boys from their personalities and what they...
Oh, 100%.
Oh,
100%.
100%.
100%. Yeah, Wyatt, he's really good-hearted.
Yeah.
He has a really good heart. But he is more high-strung, and he worries about things more. Liam is more laid back and easygoing, but if you get him fired up, he will get mad. It takes a lot to get him mad, but when he gets mad, he gets really, really mad.
Yeah.
But Wyatt, he stresses about things more. Like, he stressed about going to school. He stresses, like, when one of us are leaving, like me or Caleb, me or my husband. You know, he's like, okay, when are you going and where are you going to be going back? Like, where are you going and when are you coming back?
Emma does that too, though. She's done that from a very young age. And she's my firstborn. So, like, I think when she was... And granted, you know, her dad and I, we have split custody. So she needed to know what was going to happen, who was going to pick her up, when is this going to happen, when am I going to be back, you know, and then having her whole, like, routine. We couldn't really mess with that because her anxiety would be like, wait, this is not the plan.
Right.
You know, and I feel like maybe that's like a firstborn thing where they just need to know the plan.
And if the plan changes, Wyatt will get upset. He goes, "This was not the plan." But he likes his plan. He likes his routine. Wyatt thrives on routine. Liam,
yes, Emma does too.
Liam, I don't know. He has a routine down, but if it changes, I don't think it would affect him too much. But Wyatt is the big routine, you know?
Yeah.
Like, even when he was going to school, he was like, okay, how much longer is this going to last? Is it going to be a big time or is it going to be a short time?
Yeah.
You know, he just likes those time frames, you know?
Right.
And right now he understands he's on a big break. And so and that's what we call it. But so yeah, just that routine, it really helps. Like he wakes, he's an early riser, has always been an early riser, but he gets up in the morning, he has his breakfast.
Yeah.
After he has his breakfast, he has playtime, you know? And so just like he follows his routine exactly. And Caleb and I really don't even have to do anything. Like he just does it on his own. He's like a little man.
Yeah. He's a little man.
He's a little man. But Liam, they say something about the second born, like just into everything. Second born is different.
Yes,
you know,
way different.
He's into everything. He even your mom, who watches Liam quite a bit, was like, he is something else.
Yeah,
he's something else. He's like up the stairs and climbing up a ladder. Like you turn your head for a second, and I guess she had a ladder in her closet, and he was at the top of the ladder.
He is. He's trying to figure everything out.
He's trying to figure everything out. Yeah. So, would you say you saw a difference, I guess, between Emma and Addie?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, Emma is like the meek and mild. She wants a plan. She wants, things in order. And she is more comfortable when things are in order, you know. Mm-hmm. But now, like, if we have to change things or whatever, she's like, okay, like it is. As long as I know what that change means, we're good.
Ahead of time.
Yeah, ahead of time. Addie, this girl, she, from the get-go, like, when she was little and she was into everything. She was in the cabinet. She was pulling things out. Yeah. She was a little defiant. Because I would say, I would say, okay, don't climb on that. You're going to fall. Don't climb on that. And then I turn my back, and then the next thing she's on top of it. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Liam,
And then she just looks at me like, can you help me down? And I'm like, okay, we don't do this because gravity is real, right. And you're going to get hurt. And I don't want that for you. So she's more of my trial and error. Mm-hmm. Like she's like, okay, well, I'm going to try it and see if what you're saying is right. And I'm like, okay, well, I love that for you because you're not going to be, no one's going to try and convince you, you'll question it, right? Whatever which is a good thing, that's good. But also I need you to listen to me because it matters. And now that she's 4, she's, getting the reasonability and kind of can think a few steps ahead and be like, it's probably not a good idea to climb on that because, I've learned gravity is a thing, and so, but she's my one that is like kind of a fighter. Mm-hmm. And she has a strong sense of that's right or that's not right. To the point to where we kind of went through a thing where she tattles a lot. And so trying to find the balance between, okay, is that tattling or is that, because we always say if something's not right, come and tell us. Right. Because we want that direct line. If something's not right or somebody's going to get hurt, come tell us.
And that's a really good thing,
Yeah.
Because if you keep on telling her, okay, you don't need to tattle, well, then what if something happens and she feels like she can't tell a parent?
Right.
Like
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing is that, if they tell us the truth, that's another thing. Is like, then they won't get punished because we want that direct line.
Right.
Now, like I tell them, there are consequences if you do things maliciously or you're trying to manipulate or you're lying, the difference between that. So, but all of this is kind of learning to instill those principles into them so that, number one, they don't ever feel like they have to like cover things up. We don't want that. And the other thing is them understanding that as a parent, it's my job to help them navigate through life.
Right.
It's not like, you know, you have to try and figure this out on your own, or you don't have the relationship to where you can't come to me if you ever mess up. You know, and I tell them all the time, I mess up all the time.
Right.
You know, I messed up when I was growing up.
Which I feel like is a great thing to tell your kids, is for them to know that their parents are perfect.
Yeah.
You know, like everyone makes mistakes. Mm-hmm. I would say one of the things that I struggled with the most with both of my boys is that they're both very strong-willed. You know, and so I don't want to break that. I don't want to break that in them. I don't want to make them submit to me or anything like that. I want them to be their own people. And I think being strong-willed is a very great quality to have. You know, I would say Wyatt went through a point where he was really strong-willed, but that's kind of tamed down a little bit. But with Liam, he's very headstrong, very strong-willed. And so trying to find that fine line of, like, you respect your mom and dad, but not to where you break their spirit. Like, I don't want that. I want my kids, when they get older, to make their own choices, to not, you know, I don't want them to fall in with a bad crowd or anything like that. Like, I want them to have that, like, I'm my own person. I can make my own choices. I can, you know, and so that's been a struggle trying to find that.
Well, and I think it comes down to, like, leadership, you know, and what that means. And you, like, as the mom and the dad, like, you're leaders of your family, right? Your family unit. And having that positional leadership, like, you're going to do what I say because I'm the mom or I'm the dad, with no why.
Yes.
You know, like, it's just like, you're going to obey me and listen to me just because I said so.
Right.
You know, and for me, that's hard when I don't understand, okay, yes, you're the parent, but you're totally wrong. And that doesn't make sense. Like, you're just saying I can or can't do this. And my parents didn't do this, okay? But I have seen parents do this. And
because I said so.
It's because I said so. And granted, there are moments where because I said so, like, we're not arguing about this anymore. Right. And I've already told you why, and I've already given you the reason. And at this point, now you're arguing, and this is not okay. You know, because you're not going to get your way because you can get XYZ hurt or whatever it is. So that positional leadership comes into play, but it's very few and far between. Whereas actually being a leader in your family, you are teaching and training and saying, okay, this is why we don't do this. Or, like, back to Adeline, like, gravity's real. There's no way you can change that, you know, like, so let's be wise in what we do. We're not going to put ourselves in hurtful positions, you know? And I think as a parent, it's really important to take on that persona versus saying, do what I say, not what I do what I say because I said so, and that's the end of it. Like, you're a tyrant at that point. Right. You know, and you're going to push your kid to actually rebel and be opposite of whatever you're being, you know? Right. So I don't know. I think there's a time and a place for that, and there's a time and a place for punishment or whatever, especially if they're going to hurt themselves or, like, come on, we got to get this through fast. You know, we got to get this information through to you fast. And if they're going to hurt themselves or whatever, then you can punish them. However, I think that's another thing that, like, the punishment styles are different with each kid. Yes. You know, like,
I have found that to be true.
Yes. Like, most of the time my kids, like, are okay with, like, just, you know, conversation, and they get it and move on. But if they just become defiant, like Adeline, she had a moment there, especially around her age 2 era. She was just defiant, and, you know, she had fire about her. And I feel like Liam has kind of he's a little fiery.
Little firecracker.
Yeah. But they're trying to figure out these emotions. Yeah. And they're trying to figure out their identity a little bit outside of mom and dad. Try to gain that independence as much as they can, but they still don't have the reasonability. Right. You know, and don't know what to do with this big emotion, you know. Right. And so I feel like at that point, trying to help them navigate how to do things, you know, or maybe they shouldn't. Yes, they are. I feel that they're mad. They might be angry at this point, but let's talk about why you're angry.
Why?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Wyatt's doing this thing right now where, and I think it helped what Caleb and I did. And so when he used to get in trouble, we told him to go to his room for 4 minutes and calm down. And then Caleb or I would usually go in and have conversations like, okay, let's take deep breaths. Okay, why did you get upset? What were your emotions? What were you feeling? You were mad? Okay, why were you mad? And really identifying those emotions, I think, has helped a lot, because now when he gets mad, he goes, you're making me really angry right now.
Yes.
You're making me really upset right now. And so being able for him to identify those emotions has been really helpful. And he used to have these flashcards too. It's like, what is his face? This is angry or mad or whatever.
Yes.
And I think doing those flashcards really helped him, because he can identify emotions.
Yeah.
But now he'll just do it on his own. He gets really mad about something and he'll go into his room. Sometimes he slams the door. Sometimes he doesn't.
Yeah.
And usually I let him have his moment. Like, okay, he's mad. He's going to go into his room. And sometimes he hits his bed because he's mad, but he's angry. He's in his room. He's not hurting anything, whatever. Yeah. And then he'll come back out, or we'll go in and we'll talk to him. And it's like, okay, so you got upset. What did you get upset about? Or sometimes he feels like something is unfair and he's upset about that. And he'll go into his room. And sometimes he cries a little bit because he feels like it's unfair. And then, we talk to him. So I feel like what helped him most is that we would put him in timeout, but now he has found that to be like his safe space. And he goes in there when he's angry or upset. He'll go into his room and he'll take a few minutes, and then sometimes he'll get distracted and just start playing with toys in there. And so that has, with Liam, it does not work. With Wyatt, it's very helpful. And I like that he goes into his room and he gets all of his emotions out and then takes a few deep breaths, and then we can talk to him.
And I feel like teaching them those skills they're going to be so much further ahead than most people nowadays who can't regulate their nervous systems, because, and I don't ever want my kids to feel like, go to your room, like, I don't want to be around you right now. But saying, do you need to go to your room and just have a minute? Do you need a minute to yourself? And then now Addie, she'll be like, I need a minute. And I'm like, yeah, you do.
Yes, you do.
You do, yes. Or Emma, but creating those boundaries around that too, like being comfortable to say, I need a minute. I need a minute alone. I'm going to close my door, but, I'll open it in just a few minutes. Okay, that sounds good. Have your minute. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then having, the other thing was with Emma, is she, at the beginning with Addie, granted, she was 2 or 3 or something like that. So she always wanted to be with Emma. She wanted to be a big girl like Emma. And Emma was like, I just need a minute. Let me close my door. Well, she couldn't reach to open the door or whatever. And Addie felt really left out. So teaching Emma, yes, boundaries are good, but you're not going to leave somebody out just because it's inconvenient to not have, to have them around or whatever. And we have to figure out how to navigate that part of it too, because now you're creating a little wound in Adeline that anytime that she feels left out, she gets angry, right? And so we're not going to do that. You're going to include her, and she's going to have to learn how to behave to where she can be included.
Right.
I said, because you're really doing her a disservice. So when we package it like that for Emma, she's like, oh, I can teach her.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, I can play with her and I can, do all this. And they're great now together.
Yeah.
And Emma's my meek and mild one. Adeline's my fighter, fiery little girl. But she has both of them have a very distinct, I guess, compass of right and wrong, you know. And so Adeline, like, I told Emma, I said, one day you guys, and I said, Mommy's not going to be here anymore eventually. And I said, and you guys need to be best friends, and y'all need to, be together and be loving to each other and all of that. And I said, the thing is, I said, Emma, you might take things that you don't necessarily need to take. I said, but Adeline will not let anybody mistreat you. And that is very important, that she's going to stick up for you. Like, she'll fight for you.
Yeah, she will.
She won't let anybody mistreat you. And I said, that's what you need. And I said, and you will cover her and be her voice of reason, if she needs help or needs someone to bounce things off of. I said, that's a very important bond, that you guys have to have. And so anyway, but then having, the boy, and then we have my little gifts with purchase. My husband has, my husband had 2 before we got married. And so it's a boy, 3 girls, and then our boy. And, it's having that, like being in a family that's blended,
right,
is another layer that's on top of all the things, just life in general. And so, when we get to have those, have our kids all together, it's really like all the dynamics just change. And,
right.
There's a lot, but I have found that there is an adjustment period, especially when you have a blended family. Like
right.
if there's any big change, and I'm sure with your kids too, if there's any change, anything, they have to adjust.
Yes.
And you have to leave space for that,
right,
to adjust. There's no judgment. Like, okay, well, if
give
you need
grace.
you have exactly, you have to have that grace. And but once we get into our thing on how we do things at home, everybody's like, just chill, because they know what to expect.
Right.
And I feel like when kids know what to expect, they flourish.
Yes.
Right. I think that's a big deal. But anyway, so let's see, what else is there to talk about? Anything?
Let me think.
Yeah. Let me think. I don't know. So let me tell you the story. So there's one, and you can see here, this is my Bible. And I want to kind of talk on, like, we talked about like the Holy Spirit and how, he guides us and stuff like that. And my mom gave me this Bible, and it's a study Bible. And so it was really important to me, and she wrote this sweet note in the front of it, and you can see here a sweet note. This is my Bible of many colors. So one day when Addie was little, she took a crayon to it, and as you can see here, and I was really hurt, and I was really upset, because she colored on something that's super precious to me. And I don't usually get sentimental over things, I'm not that person, but this was it. And I was about to get like really upset, and Holy Spirit was like, don't do that, and I was like, okay. And he downloaded to me, and he said, she feels safe enough to create with you. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to inhibit that, but we also need to talk about don't color on all these things. So the reaction changed. The lesson is still the same, right? We're still going to say, well, this is special to mommy. Don't color in books that aren't coloring books. And technically, it's my fault, because this is a study Bible, but there are also things in here that are like color pages. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So she actually saw me filling it in, and she was going to, she was going to do it too. And that's okay. But in that moment, I didn't think that. Right. But taking that moment to say like, oh, wait, hold on. And then have me process through that, really was important, that I didn't crush her little spirit right in that moment. Because that's important to me. But
just wanted to color a picture for
she
you.
She just was helping me, and things like handwritten notes and stuff for my mom are so important to me, and my dad, and so that was the gravity of the situation. But the other thing, and you can see my my bookmark, it's a marker cardboard. Mom life, you know what I'm saying? But the importance, like I said, when Holy Spirit like downloads things to you, and not only is he talking to you, but he's talking to your kids and through your kids. Yes. And that has been such an eye-opener to me. The times when God is like, God uses your kids to talk to you and to remind you of his love for you.
100%.
You know?
Yeah.
Just that unconditional love.
There have been times where I've struggled mental health wise, you know, and I'll be really struggling. I'll be really upset. I'll be having some hard days or whatever. And the boys come up and they're like, Mom, we love you so much.
I know.
And it gets my heart. It's like, oh my gosh. And just hearing the Lord speak through them, you know, that's something else Caleb and I have done too, is that we don't try to hide our emotions from the kids.
Yeah.
You know, and so like when Caleb's having a hard day or I'm having a hard day or whatever, you know, Caleb will, you know, my husband will be like, hey, Mommy's really sad today. Do you think you can really take care of her today and love on her and give her hugs and give her kisses and stuff like that?
Yeah.
And they do that, you know, and it's able to help. You know, if Wyatt's upset, it's like, hey, do you remember that one time Mommy was upset and I just needed some extra love? Is that what you need right now? Do you need some extra love?
That's good.
You know, and being able to help, like, okay, Mom and Dad feel those emotions too. And like, what did they need in that moment? Okay, that's what I need right now.
Yeah.
You know, and so it kind of brought up a memory of when I was having a hard day and Wyatt just coming up or even Liam coming up and go, Mommy, you're so pretty.
Oh,
you know, and it's just like, oh, I love my boys so much. But just hearing the kids, you know, and I'm trying to think of another time, but the kids have done that, you know, where I can hear the Lord speaking through the kids to me, and it really changes everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Addie, so Emma, she's like a cuddle bear. You know, she's like, Mommy, I just want to come cuddle. I need mommy cuddles or whatever. And I'm like, absolutely, come cuddle your mama, you know? And so we do that. But then also, like Adeline today, she just said, she out of the blue, she goes, you're the best mommy. I'm like, that's all I ever wanted, is to be the best mommy. You know, or she told me today too, she goes, you're my favorite mommy. I said, have you had more? You know, and she was like, no, I guess not. I was like, okay. But in this situation, it was after I had just had Elijah, and I was feeling so disconnected, and he had thrush, I had thrush. There was no sleep involved. My husband at the time, he was supposed to go back to work after being on paternity leave, and the day he was supposed to leave, he was playing with the girls and jumped over this chair and broke his toe. And so then that put him another, I think it was like 6 weeks or something, that he had to make sure that his toe was set, because it was not even really like where it should have been. It was bad. And I'm sitting here going, you did what? Like what? You know, so like, I don't know what it is. When I'm driving, God just like downloads things to me. I guess it's just like I'm not able to focus on anything else except for driving and Lord and
dishes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it with doing dishes.
Yeah, dishes, yes. All the time there. And so anyway, Addie had asked me for a piece of paper, and she's like, Mommy, I want to draw you a picture. And I said, okay. Like, so I gave her, I had this in my car, a little Post-it note, and she's like, I'm going to draw you a picture. I said, okay. So then I forgot about it, and I'm driving. I'm on 99, and I'm telling the Lord everything. Like, I always just like, I can't carry this anymore. I'm laying this down at your feet. It is what it is. I'm sorry it's not pretty, but, you know, that's what the Lord asks us to do, is just lay everything down for him to carry, because it's too heavy. Cast all
your anxieties onto him. Mm-hmm.
Yep, exactly. And so I was feeling very disconnected, sleep deprived. I felt like I couldn't even connect with my friends because the sleep schedule and all of this. And I'm like, I don't even have anybody, you know. And my husband, you know, he was trying to make sure that we had finances, and he's, you know, even to the point of driving Lyft and Uber and whatever he could do just to get income in, to get some cash flow. And at that period I was like, you know, with this pregnancy, I want to take some time off. Like, no, you're not, you know. So I was struggling with that. I'm like, man, you know, I want this time off, but I'm also the worker that I am. And I'm like, okay, if put it back into survival mode. You know, I didn't get the chance to have disconnect from survival mode with my first two, and this one I was like, you know what, I'm okay. And then all this other stuff happens, and I'm like, not okay. Right. And so anyway, so again, I'm laying all of this at God's feet, and I'm like, I trust you, Lord. And however this looks, I know you're going to show up. And I really felt like he said, come to me, spend time with me. And for me, that means worship. That means get in the Word, right? And so when I opened, I'm driving, and she tells me, she said, Mommy, this is her version. And she said, Mommy, number one, she goes, you're the best mommy. And I'm like, aww, okay, well, thank you. And she's like, and you're the queen. And I was like, the queen? She goes, yeah. She goes, I drew a crown, and you have, look at all of the sparkly jewels that you have, and aww, all of this. And I was like, oh my gosh. And she said, you have all the jewels, Mommy. And I was like, okay. I was like, thank you. She goes, you're beautiful. You have all the jewels. They're all sparkly, and it's just what you need. And I was like, okay, that's awesome. So I opened my Bible, and I stuck this right here. And of course, things happened, and I had to close it, okay? But I just opened it. But then I was like, okay. So when I came back to it, it was actually set on Proverbs, 3:21. And God kind of highlighted it, and it says, my child, don't lose sight of common sense and discernment. Hang on to them, for they will refresh your soul. They are like jewels on a necklace. They keep you safe on your way, and your feet will not stumble. You can go to bed without fear, right? You will lie down and sleep soundly. You need not be afraid of sudden disaster or the destruction that comes upon the wicked, for the Lord is your security. He will keep your foot from being caught in a trap. Okay. So in this, it also talked about the jewels. Yes. Right? Yes. It talked about the sleep. Yes. It talked about not having fear and anxiety, Yeah. And so I was like, okay, Lord, like, what are you doing? Okay. And so, in here too, because I love Proverbs. If you are not into the Word, or you're just trying to figure this all out, I would start in Proverbs. Mm-hmm. Proverbs has little snippets, little wisdom on how life should be lived. And I feel like the whole do not fear and have anxiety and is a big deal, because especially with life how it is, and just that's what creeps in. Anxiety. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then it snowballs.
It's a big struggle of mine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that shouldn't be downplayed, Right. Like, you should definitely just face it with Jesus, because he says, like you said, cast all your fears upon me. And God said, and with Emma, I can tell she has a little bit of anxiety around certain things, and from when she was very, very little, I tell her, what has God given you? Mm-hmm. What has God given you? God says, I have not given you a spirit of fear, but power, love, and a sound mind. What does love mean? What does power mean? That means you have authority over the enemy. You have authority over whatever's coming at you right now. Right. And you have the power of the Holy Spirit with that. What does love mean? God is love. God is, that feeling of love, that calmness in love. And then a sound mind. Right. God has given you a sound mind. Right. And I spoke that over her so that she, didn't focus on that, but focus on what God says about it. Right. And so just having, like, your kids are so in tune with God. Yeah. And really cultivating that in them is going to set them apart and set them ahead.
Right.
Versus like just for them trying to figure it out on their own and maybe not knowing that, oh, I can cast this on God and he's going to carry it for me, versus like having to figure it out all on your own,
Wyatt was actually asking about Jesus and God last night. He goes, who is Jesus and God? And we've told him, like, who Jesus is, who God is, and all of that. And it's actually been put on my husband's heart, too, to really take his family to church. Like, I am the leader, and I am supposed to take care of my family like you would a church, to take him to church. And so we've been trying to do that a lot more too. And Wyatt actually loves church. He doesn't like going into the kids play area. He likes being there and doing the praise and worship in the what do you call it, in the chapel, I guess. And so anyway, but he was asking, he was like, who is Jesus and God? And so we were telling him, it's like, God made you, God made mommy, God made daddy, God made everything. Everything that you see, God made it. He made the water, he made the sky, he made all of the animals. Yeah. And he was asking who Jesus is. I said, well, Jesus is God's son, and he died on the cross, and he paid for your sins so we can all go to heaven. Yeah. And we get to see everybody that we love up in heaven. Yeah. And so that was really interesting, and he's been asking a lot more questions about it. Oh, it was raining yesterday, and we have told Wyatt and Liam before, like, if you get scared, you pray to Jesus, and he will keep you safe, and he'll make your heart feel better, and all of that. So when you get scared or when you're happy, you can pray and say, thank you, God, I'm so happy right now. Yeah. But it was raining yesterday. And Liam hates the rain and the thunder and all of that. He gets really scared, you know. And so Wyatt said, I prayed for Liam that the rain would stop, and it stopped. Oh.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I know. And I was like, I thought it was so sweet that he prayed for his brother, because his brother is scared of the thunder. Yeah. He goes, I prayed that the rain would stop, and it stopped. Yeah. And I was like, well, there you go, Wyatt. Good job. I was like so impressed. Right on, right on, little buddy. Taking care of his brother. Yeah. He goes, and it just stopped. The rain just stopped because I prayed. Yeah.
Well, that's right. Yeah.
Good job, bud.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's one thing with my kids, is, but like especially before they go to school, in the mornings, we pray over their day.
Yeah, I've done that with Wyatt.
Yeah, and it like just recenters them, whatever they've got going on, and they can actually say, actually, I want to pray for this. I want to pray for my friends. Yeah. So-and-so's sick, so it makes them think outside of themselves, really, and then taking that to the feet of the Father. Yeah. And they, to the point to where my girls, Emma's very, like, she's very reserved, and so she'll pray when I ask her to or whatever, but Adeline's like, I'm praying,
I love that about her.
She's like, I'm going to pray. And I'm like, okay, or something happens. She's like, we need to pray. I'm like, okay, you're right. We do need to pray.
I love that.
So she's my go-getter, and she knows how to handle it. And, but the way that she prays, man, like, she's like a little, I don't know. I mean, she's very passionate when she goes to Jesus, she's like, oh, we're gonna fix this is how we fix it, yeah. And she's just so tenderhearted. All of our kids are really, yes. But cultivating that and that, having them secure in that, I think that's really what's needed, especially walking into the world that it is right now, right? Really preparing them for that, and feeling like they're compassionate towards people. If someone doesn't believe the way that they believe, you love them anyway, right? And that is not a deterrent by any means, right? But also giving them the cultivating that strength and that security in what they believe, right? And why they believe it, and seeing the fruits of their prayers. Yes. Yeah. And just like, it's like, well, I prayed, so that's what happened. Like, duh, that's how it works,
Right. Yeah.
But but giving them the strength in that. And I feel like that comes with consistency and, truly, like with Caleb, it's been laid on his heart and your heart too, to, okay, this is how God set things up. This is what we need to focus on. And you trusting him as the head of a household, but also him, like, y'all are a team,
right?
And he recognizes that it's his responsibility, but lifting you up is what's going to feed over into your children and feed over into their future,
right?
And all of that, and I with my husband, I'm like, you know what, I see, because he's often said, he's like, I just can't feel anything. I can't complain about anything. I have to, and he knows his role. Like, he knows he's the provider and the protector. And he's like, but society says that I cannot have feelings. I have to figure it out. And he goes, and plus I have, we have all this aspects of, like I said, the blended family. We have child support. Right. We have all these things, and he's like, nobody is throwing me a line. Nobody's helping me,
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know that. I said, but that's what I'm here for. That's like, we'll do this together. We're going to figure it out together. But I recognize that the struggle of men nowadays.
Yes.
They are not able to complain. They're not able to have feelings. They have to just suck it up, buttercup,
And I don't feel like it's talked about as much as the struggle with women. Everything is like the feminist movement, and everything is about women, and women need equal rights and all that, which I'm not saying that they don't, but it's not centered on the struggle of men.
Yeah.
And what they go through, and like you said, how they can't show emotions, how they can't do this. You just need to suck it up. You're a man. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like there has to be a space for that.
Right.
And men treating or lifting each other up, first of all.
Yes, which you don't really see.
You don't see that.
No.
There's no space for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then them, feeling like they're struggling alone is a huge deal.
Right.
And I feel like that is not, like, just like someone coming in and helping me in my mom moment,
Yeah.
Men need that too.
Right, they do.
And they need an example of a good man on that. And
Yes.
they need mentors in that. They need mentors in business, mentors in finance, mentors in life, in relationship, and all the things, and managing their emotions. I was in a relationship that there was a man that he didn't know how to regulate, and he would punch holes in the wall or punch holes in the door. And it's just like, whoa, but he didn't know how to fix it.
Right.
So I had to hire somebody to fix my doors. But
Oh my God. I was going to ask, you didn't know how to fix the door or fix the problem.
both. He didn't know either. Oh my gosh. I was just like, what is happening? And then that trickling down to me, like, I don't know what I'm going to come home to. You know what I mean? I don't know if you're going to be set off, and am I going to be the next door, or,
That's scary.
It is.
That's
and
really scary.
It's all uncertain. So I think women, they need security. I think men need guidance and answers, and they're the fixers, and
They are fixers. Yeah.
they just need a support in that, and I feel like as a woman, whatever my husband gives me, I'm gonna multiply it. I'm gonna
Right.
make a house a home. I'm gonna, out of the ingredients or whatever from the store, I'm gonna make a meal.
Right.
Out of his children or whatever, I'm gonna make a family. And he understands that, but just the pressure of society, the pressure of people invalidating men.
Yes.
And that's what concerns me for my sons, is that they're growing up in a culture that says they're invalid.
That's centered about women right
yeah.
now. Mm-hmm.
You know, and yes, my daughters as well, you know, how to be strong and how to, you know, but also also respect men.
Right.
You know, and the men should respect the women.
Yeah.
And their role. And not that they have to have a certain role, but I'm saying the role within their family and respecting them as people, you know, that's very, very important. I think men should, you know, definitely know how to regulate their emotions and actually show that they have emotions.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's very important too, because I think society, a lot of people nowadays, they're like, you don't get to have emotions.
If you look at men and they're crying, they're weak.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's not the case.
No.
That's not the case. But yeah, I think as moms, we have such a huge role in how our children will, like, we're the precursors to how they're going to live their lives.
Right.
You know? So I think it's huge. And sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, I just, being a mom it's so downplayed.
Yes, it really is. But it's one of the hardest jobs one of the most rewarding, but one of the hardest jobs in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you don't ever break. You don't ever clock out, you know?
That's what I was about to say. You never clock out, you know? Like,
yeah.
You can have a job and you go to work and you work 9 to 5, but at the end you're like, okay, I did it. My job is complete. Everything is done. Now I get to go home and relax. And with being a mom, you clean up the kitchen. You're like, okay, work is done. I get to relax. And you walk into the living room and it's a mess. Yeah. There's no clocking out. It's constant.
It's constant.
Until I go to sleep.
Yeah.
But if you co-sleep, not always.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it is. And, you know, I feel like as moms, we need to lean on each other. Mm-hmm. And just feel safe enough to be like, hey, you know what, this is what I'm struggling with, you know, or whatever it is, and really lean on each other and help each other through that. You know, it create a safe space to where there's no judgment, and taking off that whole comparison cap, taking off that, like, okay, there's no pressure. You know, there's no judgment. I understand you're feeling what you're feeling, and you have right to feel that way.
Right.
You know, but also navigating through that, you know, helping each other. So, anyway, yeah.
I feel like this is kind of a side note, but with me having bipolar disorder and anxiety disorder, you know, it always made me feel like I'm going to be a bad mom. I'm going to be a terrible mom. You know, I shouldn't, you know, why did God let me have kids? Because I'm not going to be a good mom to them because I have all of these issues. How am I going to be able to take care of my kids? What if I have an episode? What, you know, all of these different things. Yeah. And my counselor, who I see, and she's amazing, she was like, you know, but doesn't that be able to help you more than anybody else because you know how to identify those emotions? Yeah. You know, like, who is going to be able to help them more than you will be able to, because you struggle with your emotions, you struggle with anxiety, you struggle with this, and now seeing bits and pieces of anxiety and Wyatt, you know, it's like I can identify with how he's feeling, you know, and it's like, who can help him more than you can as somebody who struggles with these different things. And it really made me feel like something that was a burden that I would carry around is now more like a superpower, you know? And it's like, oh, so you're struggling with this? Okay, I can help you with that. And this is how you regulate your emotions. And so I think definitely supporting other moms is really important. Mental health issues, sleep, making them a meal, you know, whatever, you need a break, I can give you a break, like that kind of thing. I think it is so important and something that I wish I would have done sooner, but I do it now and it helps so much. And so now, like, when the kids come back from Nini's house and it's like, hey, look, I made you lunch, and that, and you feel so much better, you know. But 100% supporting other moms, and
it's a big deal. Mm-hmm. It's a big deal. And I think just not feeling like you have to carry all of it, you know, and that's what family's about. That's what, like, if I love it when the boys come over, you know, and play, and we build forts, and we do all kinds of fun stuff, you know, and I'm thankful that, you know, we're in the position where we can do that, and we have such a great relationship, and definitely with family. But if you have your tribe, you know, I think anything's possible, really. For sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for all of your input, and I appreciate you, and I love you.
I love you too.
And until next time, I'd love to have you back on.
I'd love to be back on.
Okay.
This was fun.
Yay.